Hey guys, so in this video I want to talk about 6 things that pro players do that I can almost guarantee the majority of you guys do not do. Now, I'm not going to be talking about specific building techniques or edit tricks or anything like that. The things I'm referring to are what pros do on a day-to-day basis to make themselves better than the average player. You can think of this video as an advanced version of my 6 ways to actually improve at Fortnite video. That was more for the average player and how they can improve. This will be a step up to show what the pros do differently and things that the average player would never think to do. Before we get into it though, I want to thank Pro Guides for partnering up with me on this video. Pro Guides is an amazing resource that helps you get better at every aspect of Fortnite. They offer a ton of different courses and guides on everything from basic building techniques to more advanced building and editing tricks. They recently released a course they made with Fishy that focuses on scoring higher in arena and mastering late games. Fishy is one of the best players in the world, so there's no better person you could possibly learn from. His course is a total of 5 different chapters that covers everything from the early game to piggybacking on kills to even dealing with poor loot. It's without a doubt the most in-depth and useful arena guide I've seen so far. So if you're interested in it, go check out Benji's course and pro guides through the link in the description below. With that being said, let's start with the first thing that pros do that you guys probably don't. That is playing in scrims. If you don't know what a scrim is, it's basically a custom match that people play out as if it's a tournament game. In theory, since it's 100 competitive players who should all be playing seriously and doing their best to win, this is way better practice than public matches or arena. Arena has devolved into a W key fest that's essentially public matches with siphon and mats per kill. If you want to practice fighting people and pushing everyone you see, then yeah, arena is not that bad. What pros want practice in though is good endgames with a lot of players. In arena, you'll get maybe 10 players alive for the first moving zone if you're lucky. In a decent scrim lobby, you should easily have at least 30 to 40 people alive. Those stacked endgames will provide you with the best possible practice for any late game scenario you can get into. Even if a tournament match you're in doesn't have 30 people alive during the moving zones, scrims will still help you learn how to rotate, how to stay cool and calm, and how you can win in tense situations. Trust me when I say you'll have no problem winning any other game if you can win a really populated scrim game. The best scrim Discord that I found is Atlantis Scrims, which is big in NA and EU. Someone will host a match with a custom code, and all you have to do is put in the code and queue up. Atlantis does have zone rules, so make sure you're aware of when you can and cannot fight, but that's definitely the best and most open scrim Discord server. Pro players have their own small servers, which they only let in other top players to get the best practice possible. They scrim for up to 8 hours a day, which accounts for a majority of their practice. Obviously, I'm not advising for you guys to put in the same amount of time as the pros do while scrimming, but just playing in a few scrims every week will definitely help you improve. The second thing pros do that you're probably not doing is VOD reviews. A VOD is literally just a replay of the game you or someone else played. It stands for video on demand, so it can be through the Fortnite replay mode, or it can be a past Twitch stream, or just gameplay you recorded through your computer. Now, there's a few ways pro players do VOD reviews. The first and easiest is anytime they die in a scrim or practice match, they go into the Fortnite replay mode and just watch back what they did wrong. Using all the replay mode features, you can see everything that was going on around you at any time you want. Say you made the wrong decision on when to rotate. By VOD reviewing using your replays, you can see when you should have rotated, so you'll never make that mistake again. Another way pros VOD review is by watching other pro players' VODs. Even the best players in the world know that they can learn from other good players. When you see players like FaZe Dubs, MSF Clicks, and E11 Stompy, who have all qualified at least 5 separate times for the World Cup in New York City, there's obviously something that they're doing differently that makes them so consistently good. The only way to figure out what it is would be to watch and analyze their gameplay. The hard part used to be actually getting a hold of their matches because most of them would choose not to stream, but you can actually watch all their replays through the tournament leaderboards now. The third way pros VOD review is by watching analysts do their own VOD reviews. One of the best people for that is BallaTW, who is one of the casters you'll see on the Fortnite streams. He takes gameplay from top tier players like Aspect and Bizzle and then breaks down each decision and move they make. You can learn a lot by VOD reviewing on your own, but Balla and other analysts will help point out things you would never think on your own, which is why they're so valuable. The third thing pros do differently is creative 1v1 box fights. Most casual and even competitive players will practice build fights and creative 1v1s. This is great practice for your building mechanics and getting warmed up, but I can't include that because, like I just said, most players actually do practice 1v1s. What most players don't practice are box fighting 1v1s. If I had to sum up the Season 9 meta in 2 words, I'd say box fighting. If you're bad at box fighting, you're not going to do well, and if you're really good at box fighting, then you're going to do really well in game. This is why the best box fighters in the world, like Aspect, Booga, and Clicks, all happen to be the best and most consistent in qualifying. Pros understand how important box fighting is, so they hop into a creative match with another good player, they box up, and they start box fighting. This is how they build muscle memory for those awkward close quarter engagements and practice different tricks for getting into boxes. If I could only practice one thing at Fortnite right now, it would be box fighting. That's how big of a part it has become in high level gameplay. It's really as easy as just loading up a blank world, building a 1x1, and then telling one of your friends to try to kill you as you try to stay alive and kill them. So maybe instead of doing creative build fights for hours, dedicate some of that time to box fighting like the pros do instead. Fourth thing pros do that most people don't is consistently practice their aim. I used to use aim trainers a lot, but over time I kind of started slacking and just jumped into a game as soon as I got on. There's nothing wrong with doing this, but if you want to aim like Tfue's, only playing Fortnite is not going to do it. What basically every pro player does is use Kovac's aim trainer. Again, I'm not sponsored by them. I wish I was because of how many times I've recommended it. But it really is that good and useful. You can train your flicks, your tracking aim, your reaction speed, pretty much anything aim related. Pros want to get the best practice possible in the least amount of time, and the best way for improving your aim is to use an aim trainer. There are some free alternatives like Osu and Aimtastic, which are good as well, and if you're not on PC, there's tons of creative courses that can simulate Kovac's. As far as an actual Kovac's routine, I prefer the more tracking focused scenarios like Ascended Tracking 90 Small, Ascended Tracking V3, and Tile Frenzy 180 Strafing 400%. Tfue does the normal Tile Frenzy 180, and Tile Frenzy Jumbo a lot, which is good for your hipfire aim and flicking. Pro players practice using aim trainers every single day for up to an hour, so as long as you're consistent and actively working to improve your aim, it will improve, and with enough practice, you can definitely get your aim to a pro level too. The fifth thing pros do that most players don't is learning and adapting to the meta faster than anyone else. Fortnite is constantly evolving and changing, more so than any other game in the world. Every season, Epic completely changes the map. Every week, they add and unbolt weapons, make balance changes, and revamp core gameplay aspects. The only way to stay on top throughout all these changes is to be able to adapt your playstyle around them. Players like Tfue, Mr. Savage, and Benji Fishy, who have been some of the best players in the world for months now, they're always learning new tricks and moves. If you guys remember this clip of Benji killing Vorwin with a ramp exploit where you can phase through the ramp, Benji learned this because when he was playing Duo Arena, someone had done it to him, so immediately after, he went into creative and learned how to do it himself. Then, a few days later, he gets into an intense fight with another World Cup qualified player, FaZe Vorwin, and he pulls this trick off to clutch the fight. Tfue is also practicing every different tip or trick he can get his hands on to use it to his advantage. That's why people used to call him the king of exploits. A ton of early Season 2 and 3 Fortnite pros like TSM Myth were unfortunately left in the dust when they couldn't seem to adapt fast enough. The average skill level of Fortnite has risen an insane amount and will continue to increase, so in order to stay on top like the best players in the world do, you also need to adapt and keep up with the ever-changing meta. The sixth and final thing pros do that your average player doesn't is learn from their mistakes. There's a reason why Tfue is a pro and all of us are not. Yeah, a big reason might be because he plays Fortnite all day, but think of the thousands of people out there, some of whom might be you guys, that play just as much or even more, and still are not signed to a team or winning tournaments. Even if you do all the things I just mentioned, you go in VOD review, you play scrims, you practice your aim, you practice box fighting and stay on top of the meta. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you will never improve and get to that level. The way in which most pros learn from their mistakes is first by VOD reviewing so they can see why they died, then secondly, actually applying it to the next time they're in that situation. You will never see a top tier pro make a stupid edit play 2 times in a row. If they make it once, they'll recognize their mistake and never do it again. If you want to become the best you can possibly be, you have to be the same way too. I'm not acting like I'm perfect in this regard because this is one of my biggest problems, but I guess that's what separates pro players from the rest of us. Overall, these were 6 things that pro players do that you guys probably don't. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Thank you to everyone using code Jarian. Make sure you remember to send me a picture of you using my code, even if you don't buy anything with it. I need more people to shout out so I don't look like a loser only shouting at a couple of people. No, but seriously, let me know if you're using my code because I love you if you do. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.